It was John C. Maxwell who said a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs manifested these qualities on the 7th of July 2018 at an event organized by the Sterling Toastmasters Club Port Harcourt, held at the Royal Banquet Hall of the Hotel Presidential. The affair, which was themed the Leadership Challenge, Tough Questions, Honest Answers, saw the intrinsic and quintessential Rivers indigene from Akokotoro local government area, an outstanding philanthropist, technocrat, business executive and foremost politician, not only answer tough questions with honest answers, but also raise very germane questions on who a leader is and what leadership is all about. The Leaders Lounge event was opened by the Sergeant-at-Arms Toastmaster Monima Georgeville with a call to order for proceedings of the day. He also read out the Toastmaster pledge and introduced the president of the Sterling Toastmaster Club, Toastmaster Tobore Olumoye, who in her opening remarks welcomed guests to the program and thereafter handed over to Toastmaster Nwachukwu Njoku, who was the master of ceremony of the day, to anchor proceedings. The MC, Toastmaster Njoku, gave a brief history of the Sterling Toastmaster Club, which he said was founded by Ralph C. Smedley in Illinois, USA, on the 22nd October 1924, and was born out of the desire to teach people public speaking skills, conduct meetings, plan programs, and work in communities to develop leaders. The club has its headquarters in California, USA. The order of events was scheduled into 3 segments. The prepared speech segment was the first segment, where prepared speeches by members of the Toastmasters Club was delivered. The next segment was the table topic segment, a very interesting and interactive segment, as members of the audience were randomly and without warning picked to discuss various topics bordering on the theme of the day.
Jeff Kennedy once said, and I quote, "Man must put an end to war, or war will put an end to man." Over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, I think it's a truism, the statement, that man must put an end to war, or war will put an end to man.
The audience did not feel as they all did exceptionally well in addressing the topics raised by the organizers. The third segment, which was the segment everyone was anticipating and looking forward to, was the leadership talk. This segment saw the guest of honor, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, give his keynote address, followed by a consummate participatory session discussion where Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs discussed his modest upbringing and also offered effective, enlightening perceptions, pointers, and counsel on leadership, governance, business successes, and philosophy of life and living, while answering questions posed by members of the audience.
Leadership at a personal level is most important. You have a vision, you know what you want to become, you know your strengths, and you can push for those strengths. And what comes to me as second nature is charity. I knew that a lot of people contributed, to my upbringing, to my well-being, and the minimum that I can do is to recognize what God has done for me by trying to give back, to society as well.
Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, who presented his keynote address in 3 parts, first looked at what leadership is all about. According to him, the whole concept of leadership and identifying leaders is challenging, as there seems not to be a one-size-fits-all on who a leader is, what constitutes leadership, the qualities of a good leader, or whether leaders are born or made. He also raised pertinent questions on who a leader or what leadership is about, such as who determines the direction in which leadership should go. He concluded the first part of his keynote address by saying that everyone is a potential leader, as leaders are those who foster change, and that is the foundation of leadership. The second part of his address focused on political leadership. According to him, political leadership is about governance, and borrowing from the UNDP definition of governance, he defined governance as the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. It comprises the mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interests, exercise their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mediate their differences. Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs posited that political governance plays a key role in the advancement or decay of any human society. In the third part of his keynote address, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs outlined the 5 leadership practices as identified by Jim Kozes and Barry Posner in 2012. These leadership practices that act as guidelines to positive and effective leaderships are: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the hearts. Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs concluded his address by emphasizing the importance of integrity as one of the core values in leadership at all levels, and most fundamentally in political leadership that has the people's mandate. According to him, unless we begin to rethink the leadership question, we may not be able to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
In the first part, we will look at leadership to try to give meaning to it. Part 2 will examine leadership at the political level, which I'm sure would interest a whole lot of us here. In the third part, I will present what some researchers have identified as the practices of effective leaders. Most leadership challenges involve a change in the status quo. All leaders, therefore, must challenge the current process. The first step in doing this is to search for opportunities to innovate, to grow, and to improve the people that are part of the organization or the people that we lead. The second part of challenging the existing process is to experiment and take risk. And that leads you to excellence, because you begin to practice and make amends at those areas where you failed. The fourth practice is to enable others to act. Success requires a team effort. Good leaders do not hoard power, they give it away. The fifth practice is to encourage the heart. We can resist invading armies. We cannot resist an invasion of ideas. Let us live in the inspirations of the pressing needs of this present time. Let's therefore be driven by our convictions and not by our fears. And if we do so, the Lord of our weary years and our silent tears shall answer our cry.
After his keynote address, the floor was thrown open for the audience to ask questions. The highlight of the event was when the special guest, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, offered to sponsor 20 females and 10 males to be members of the Toastmasters Club. The club executives were sincerely grateful and expressed their profound gratitude.
24th of August 2017, in GRA in Port Harcourt, he made a very profound statement. And I quote, "I don't need to be voted into any political office to discharge my God-given responsibilities. Should you have a rethink? If you should have a rethink, wouldn't people perceive you to be hypocritical? Or are you fidelity? You want to keep your word?"
Well, the two are not mutually exclusive, right? That I can do what I have to do without being elected into any position does not mean that I cannot seek to be elected into a position. Right? Everybody who has an opportunity should try to use that opportunity to see how we can impact on the lives of those who don't have that kind of opportunity that you do have. We must help, especially those of us who live in the shadows of life. We can make life a lot easier for people if we begin to imagine their situations and see how we can help their situations. And so you don't have to be that senator, you don't have to be that member of House of Assembly or that governor to be able to do that. As I said also on that day, that there are two very important moments in the life of everybody. The day you are born and the day you realize why you're born. Some of us have realized that we are born to serve.
Followers sometimes bring checks and balances to people that they have elected. But in this country, in Africa as a whole, you found out that could be very, very difficult. So sometimes the quality of followership is the challenge of leadership itself. Some people are very docile. They subscribe to what we call stomach infrastructure, And you find out that people who would like to challenge the status quo, whether in governance, in corporate practice, don't do that because of this perceived thing that you can't challenge leadership. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it is defeatist for you to think that you can't hold leaders, to account. That's the whole essence of challenging the leadership. The leaders must have to account for the mandates that you give to them. How have they used that mandate? How have they worked to ensure that there was an improvement in your living standards? And then you can insist that they don't return to office. And we don't understand the enormous powers that we have. We don't. If we realize that the people who have held us hostage are less than 1 to 3% of the population, then we will know the enormous power that we have in our hands to bring about that change that will put leaders on their toes. The power of incumbency has been proved to only be as solid as the people would allow it to be. So you can always challenge your leaders to do the things that you want them to do. And you can always insist that they don't push you around and that you know what you want. So I think that we have come to that point where we have to do a value reorientation and ask ourselves, what are those things that we seek to have as a people? And begin to push for those things. Insist that our leaders listen. We have had no variety in our lives, frankly, as Rivers people, we haven't. Just the vanities of our leaders that we have had to endure. And that, I think, has become distasteful to a lot of us. However, if you don't take an action, nothing will happen. My father told me growing up that except you say, I am, nobody will say thou art. In situations, especially in political situations. So I can tell you that yes, 35% is what a lot of people are asking for, but women should not ask for 35%. Women should ask for the same opportunities that are given to men. What I can say to all of us is that, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. All of us must insist on what is right. And when you insist on what is right and you set out to do it, God will align all the forces in His universe to bring about your purpose.
Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs has indeed at this event proved that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other, and that leadership is not about the next elections, it is about the next generation. My name is Ammonia Rita Stewart, and we are here at the Royal Banquet Hall Hotel Presidential, where we just finished an interactive session with Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. Right now, we are going to get some persons to tell us their views on what they learned today. What is your take home from this program?
Well, I've always been one for cerebral conversations because that's where we grew up. From school, all the way down from township school, you had debating groups to secondary school up to now. And if those traditions had been kept up, I think the generations behind us will have been mentally stronger. So because if you see the conversations of social media, people get emotional when people disagree with them. But if you're part of a debate, if you know how to debate, you wouldn't get angry. According to Archbishop Desmond Tutu, he says that when your voice begins to rise, it means you're losing the argument. People get emotional. You don't get emotional if you're sure of your facts and how to present your matter. We might not agree, but you know that I'm not talking rubbish. So I think I like what the Toastmaster represents. I'm happy that Chiefs has aligned with it, and it was a wonderful one.
I think DLB said very cogent, very important thing, that followers must be able to contribute and even challenge the process if need be. We heard about the Arab Spring, we heard about other nations of the world who governments have been brought down because people that were followers rose up and spoke and challenged the status quo and did something. There were protests. There were people that had on the street and said, look, we don't want to take these things anymore. So I think that followership is key. And people who follow will not just follow because of what they want to gain, they must follow because they want to improve the system. So I think what he said was pretty good. We who are followers, or people that are followers, must be able to be heard. They must make their voices to be heard. They must be disenchanted with anything that they don't like, and in their hands is the power to change the whole narrative if they want to. So I think DLB said a very important thing, and we who are followers, people that are followers, have the capacity to bring a very remarkable change in the system, not just in politics, in governance, in the corporate sector, in the community. We have the power and the capacity to bring a lasting solution to whatever we don't want, because we have the voice to speak, we have the capacity to air our views and be heard. So I think that is very key. Thank you.
Actually, Chief said so much. I remember someone saying that women should aspire for like 35% of, roles in the organizations and coming out in leadership and all. But he said no, we should aspire for more, because I know that women, and he also mentioned that women, whenever a woman is dedicated to something, the woman comes in with everything, intuition, dedication, everything, just like a woman is dedicated in a home. So I believe so much that women can actually do whatever they put their heart to do. And in leadership as a whole in this country, more organizations are coming up with inspiring women, in bringing up programs and events that will inspire women to become more. And I believe that as more of these events keep coming up, women are becoming more inspired to go for whatever they want to achieve in life. But right now, based on the things that people are learning right now, and the information that is going on right now, women are actually beginning to understand that they can actually integrate these things. So you mustn't leave your family or leave that particular position you want to go for because you have a family. You can actually have a way of integrating it. So yes, the society is becoming more aware right now that women in leadership is something that they cannot hide from. In as much as we haven't really embraced it so much, but something that the society is becoming aware of, and I believe that we are going somewhere.
Especially when it comes to politics, youth in politics, I see bitterness. I see bitterness in the politics they are trying to play, but like our boss, he loves everyone. Once I saw him saying we shouldn't retaliate to some kind post we see. I want you to be open-minded, let them be bold, let them know what they want, and stop this bitterness. Let's fight for peace. Let there be peace where we play our politics.
From participation, that is the number of people who came out here today. They listen. There's one thing is for someone to talk, another thing is for someone to listen. And it is better most of the times to listen and learn something and then go on ahead to do it. From the number of people who came here today, me inclusive, it shows that actually we want to do something different, something positive, something to help the society. But I believe that mostly people who came here today did not start shouting political slogans and things like that, but they were all about getting that core value that Chief himself even talked about. What is your core value as a human being? So most people have actually shown that core value of change, of positivity, of belief that something can actually change from the interaction I had with some people around here, which tells me, okay, for instance, let's say for people who to believe in someone who is as articulate as DLB shows you that these people actually, you're able to notice something, because they said that for you to be a minister, from what Machiavelli said, it is not just about you being intelligent, but it's about you noticing who is intelligent and appointing that person in a leadership position. So everybody who came out here today have shown us that for you to participate in something like this, which is not all about boogie and dance, it shows that you're geared to a step forward to positivity.
So when I say that, the attitude of the people being led is very important. It is not just so that they hold the leaders accountable. It's that they themselves are driven by some values that they think that they have intrinsically. They are driven by the vision of themselves that they have. And if a leader is offering you something that is less than the vision of yourself that you have, why accept it? So we have come to a point where perhaps anything that happens, we don't say, oh, well, it's okay. That attitude is what has encouraged the leaders to take the people that they lead for granted. Now, that has become exceedingly distasteful. I know that in River State particularly, we have had any variety in our lives in the last 3 years. We have just had to endure the vanities of our leaders, and that just has got to stop. And you can stop it when you realize the enormous power that you have. I mean, the people who are craving for change and looking for that to go and register the vote. Most of them have not. And most young people haven't bothered, to go register to vote. And most young people will probably be sleeping at the time, that it's the voting staff or at the time of accreditation. By the time they get to the polling booth, they feel accreditation because they are tired. They have to understand that the value of governance that they get is the difference between whether their lives will remain what it is or their lives will improve. And so they must first and foremost go and get registered, to agree that they have value, agree that the power is in their hands, agree that the mandate is theirs, and they are giving the mandate that belongs to them to the people who are asking for that mandate. And the people must exercise that mandate in the interest of the people who are being led. We have not had that. So what we must do, some of us who want to pride ourselves in saying that we love the people, is to mobilize the human spirit, to mobilize the river spirit behind an agenda that works for every Rivers man, every Rivers woman, and every Rivers child.
Thank you for watching this program with us. See you next time. This is Ammonia Rita Stewart reporting for FST News.